What if the person in front of you is not separate from you? What if the distance between us is something we have created? We live in a world that constantly asks us to choose sides, us and them, identity and difference, belonging and exclusion. We define ourselves by what we are, and just as quickly by what we are not. Lines are drawn quietly at first, then reinforced over time, until they begin to feel natural. And yet, something about this division feels unstable, because the more we separate, the more fragile everything becomes. And what if this separation is not as real as it seems? What if it is something we have learned to believe? In the Mayan world, there is a greeting. In Lak'ech, I am you and you are me. It sounds simple, almost poetic, but it carries a deeper understanding, that there is no clear boundary between self and other. Not in the way we often assume, because beneath identity, beneath difference, beneath everything that separates us, there is something shared, something continuous. For generations, this was not a concept to explain. It was a way of seeing. The other was not a stranger, not an outsider, but a reflection, not identical, but connected. And to harm another was not just an external act. It was something that returned, not as punishment, but as consequence. Because the separation was never complete, but something changed, not suddenly, but gradually. Identity became sharper, categories became stronger, differences became defining. And with that, distance increased. People became labels, groups became boundaries. And once that happens, something else becomes easier. Disregard, dismissal, harm. Because when someone feels separate, empathy requires effort. And when empathy requires effort, it can be withdrawn. This is how division deepens, not always through conflict, but through disconnection. Today we see this everywhere, in conversations that turn into arguments, in differences that become divisions, in identities that become walls. People are reduced to positions, to cités, to roles they are expected to play. And in that reduction, something essential is lost, the ability to recognize. Think about a simple moment when someone makes a mistake. Do we try to understand, or do we judge immediately? When someone disagrees with us, do we listen, or do we prepare to respond? When we see suffering, do we feel connected, or do we scroll past it? These small moments reveal something deeper, not what we believe, but how we see. Modern psychology describes this in its own way. The human mind categorizes, it simplifies, it creates groups, those who are like us and those who are not. This process is natural, but it also creates distance, and distance changes how we respond. It makes it easier to ignore, easier to justify, easier to disconnect. In Lak'ech challenges this at its root. It does not deny difference. It does not remove individuality. But it reframes it. It suggests that difference exists within connection, not outside of it, that the other is not separate from you, but another expression of the same life. This is where everything quietly changes, because if the other is also you, then the way you respond begins to shift. Respect no longer needs to be enforced. It becomes natural. Care is no longer conditional. It becomes instinctive. This does not mean agreement. It does not mean sameness. It means recognition. To see the other not just as different, but as connected. And perhaps this is what is missing. Not communication, not information, but recognition. A way of seeing that does not begin with division. Because when recognition disappears, conflict becomes easier. And when conflict becomes easier, connection becomes weaker. And Lak'ech offers a different starting point, not for solving every disagreement, but for changing how we approach them, to see the other not as an opponent, but as part of a shared existence. To understand that what we do to others does not end with them. It returns, not through rules, but through relationship. Because the boundary between self and other is not as fixed as it appears. It is shaped by how we see. And maybe the shift does not begin with changing others, but with seeing differently. To recognize that beneath difference, there is connection. Beneath identity, there is continuity. Because when that recognition returns, something softens, not suddenly, but quietly. And when that happens, division does not disappear, but it no longer defines everything. This is in Lak'ech. I am you and you are me, and perhaps we were never as separate as we believed. This is land and life. These are the echoes of the earth.